By sunrise, the sidewalks looked like a war zone. Flashing cameras, protest banners, and reporters shouting over one another for a live feed. The signs had shifted from simple pleas like "Justice for Malcolm," pleas to bold, blood-red demands, "Who else?" and "Bring them all down." Inside, the courthouse hallways felt suffocating. Today was the day the prosecution had promised to unveil their next move, one that, according to whispers in the press room, could deliver the final blow to Bill Cosby's empire. When the judge's gavel struck and the words, "Court is now in session," echoed through the chamber, every eye fixed on the prosecution's table. The lead prosecutor didn't rush. He let the silence stretch, letting tension thicken the air. Then, with deliberate steps, he rose, walked to the center, and placed a single USB drive onto the evidence table. The metallic clink might as well have been an explosion. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steady, "this is Exhibit 72. What you're about to see has never been shown to the public or even this court until now. It comes from a secured source. It connects the defendant, his associates, and a coordinated plan to eliminate Malcolm Jamal Warner." The room froze. "And can you tell the court," the prosecutor continued, turning to the witness stand, "why you were there?" The silence that followed felt endless, the kind of pause that makes you think the witness won't answer at all. Then finally, "I was there to make sure the job got done." The gallery erupted, gasps, shouts, murmurs. The judge slammed the gavel 3 times before order returned. Cosby's attorney shot to his feet. "Objection, speculation, hearsay, inflammatory." But the prosecutor cut him off. "Your Honor, the witness is testifying to his own involvement." The judge gave a curt nod. "Proceed." "What do you mean by make sure the job got done?" the prosecutor asked. Darius leaned forward, locking eyes with the jury. Cosby wanted guarantees. He didn't just hire someone and hope for the best. He wanted eyes on the ground. "That was me." A collective gasp rippled from the jury box. Cosby sat completely still, but his jaw twitched, a tell the prosecutor had noted before. "And what exactly was said during that cafe meeting?" The prosecutor pressed. Darius didn't hesitate this time. He said, "This can't come back to me. If it does, you're both gone." Pamela Warner's head dropped, her hand covering her mouth. In the front row, one of Malcolm's former co-stars wiped away tears. The prosecutor pulled out a still photograph from the hotel suite, the one showing a gold watch in the corner. "Is this you?" "Yes." "And who's wearing the gold watch?" Darius hesitated. "A producer named Victor Lang. He worked with Cosby back in the day. He arranged the payments." Another shockwave rippled through the courtroom. Lang's name had been whispered online for weeks, but never confirmed until now. The prosecutor handed over another exhibit, a series of bank records linking transfers from a shell company tied to Victor Lang. Each payment matched the exact amounts and timeline of the alleged planning stages of Malcolm's death. The defense tried to cross-examine, painting Darius as a liar chasing a deal, but the damage was done. The jury had heard it from the man himself, and the evidence fit too perfectly. During recess, the courthouse erupted into chaos. News outlets flashed banners, "Cosby plus Lang, murder for hire plot." Outside, protesters chanted both names. Someone even unfurled a massive banner reading, "Who else was there?" When court resumed, the prosecution dropped their final hammer, an audio file retrieved from an encrypted flash drive Pamela Warner had safeguarded for the right moment. The clip was scratchy but unmistakable. Cosby's voice, "Make it look like an accident." No witnesses, no mistakes. The jury stared at the speakers in shock, as if they couldn't believe what they were hearing. Cosby shook his head slowly, mouthing, "It's fake." But it was too late. The audio was out and the reaction was electric. By the end of the day, the prosecution rested its case. The defense scrambled with a desperate motion to dismiss, citing tainted public perception. The judge denied it. Outside, Pamela Warner faced the crowd. Her voice cracked but never faltered. "They tried to erase my son," she said. "But you can't erase the truth." Social media ignited. Hashtags like Langgate and Leather Jacket Witness trended worldwide. TikTok users spliced together cafe footage, hotel lobby video, and Darius's testimony into mini documentaries that racked up millions of views overnight. The trial had become bigger than anyone imagined. It was no longer just about Bill Cosby. It was about Hollywood's darkest secrets being dragged into the light. The judge announced closing arguments would begin the next morning. In the press room, a veteran court reporter was overheard saying, I've covered mob bosses, politicians, even celebrity scandals. But I've never seen a case like this. Not one where the walls closed in so fast. As the courthouse emptied, Cosby slipped out the back. Head down, flanked by guards. Cameras still caught him. And every outlet replayed the footage in slow motion. The man who once ruled American television, now fading into the shadows, his empire crumbling behind him. So, what now? Is this finally the end for Bill Cosby? Or is this just the first domino in a much bigger Hollywood cover-up? Who else sat at that table wearing that gold watch, making sure Malcolm Jamal Warner never got to tell his truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want the world to keep talking, hit that like button. Share this so the truth keeps spreading. And subscribe because this story is far from over. The man once called America's dad sat frozen, eyes locked on nothing, as if replaying every secret he thought would never see daylight. The gallery erupted. Some gasped. Others whispered while outside. Protesters screamed for justice. Phones lit up, hashtags exploded, and the world asked the same question. Was this truly the end? Or just the beginning of a darker truth? Because behind that verdict, rumors swirled, sealed files, hidden meetings, and names too powerful to be spoken aloud. From Jell-O commercials to jailhouse confessions, Bill Cosby's career arc had become the most twisted before and after in pop culture history. Today, the man once known as America's dad received a new title, Inmate for Life. And his reaction? A masterpiece, a mix of Oscar-worthy shock and wait. Is this a prank show? The moment the words life in prison dropped, Cosby froze, as if someone had just spoiled the finale of his favorite soap opera. Blink, stare, gone. The judge's gavel may, as well, have been the clapper closing out the final unaired episode of The Cosby Show, The Prison Years. The gallery leaned forward. Phones tilted just enough to catch the perfect shot for Twitter. Even in court, people couldn't resist chasing the headline. Outside, protesters turned the courthouse steps into something like a block party. Colorful signs waved in the air. No laugh track for this ending. Justice for Malcolm. And my personal favorite, Puddin' Pops Can't Save You Now. Inside, though, the mood was different. The prosecution sat like chess masters who had just declared checkmate. Pamela Warner, Malcolm's mother, clutched a framed photo of her son so tightly, it was as though she were holding on to his heartbeat. No tears this time, just a steely gaze that said, "I told you so." Cosby, on the other hand, had the glazed-over look of a man watching his empire burn in slow motion. He didn't lash out. He didn't beg. He just sat there motionless. The only movement, the slow tightening of his jaw, every time the judge repeated, "Without the possibility of parole." Then came the real showstopper. A murmur started in the back row, a reporter whispering into her phone. Seconds later, her tweet hit the timeline. Breaking. Cosby's team seen frantically texting after verdict. Anonymous leak claims more evidence still sealed. Cosby verdict, what else? The courtroom didn't hear it. But the internet did, and like gasoline meeting fire, it exploded. By the time court recessed, hashtags like the Cosby meltdown and Justice for Malcolm were trending worldwide. TikTok creators were already lip-syncing Cosby's stunned reaction with dramatic piano music. Twitter had a field day, splicing side-by-side memes, his verdict face compared to that one uncle when you tell him the barbecue is vegan. But beneath the memes, something darker was brewing. News outlets began hinting that Cosby's life sentence might not be the final chapter. Rumors swirled about sealed files in the Malcolm Warner case, documents the public had never seen. Files that, according to one unnamed source close to the investigation, could implicate other major figures from television's golden age. Back inside the courthouse, the media frenzy hit a fever pitch. Reporters shoved microphones toward anyone with a badge, a suit, or even just a decent view of the proceedings. What's next for Cosby? Will there be appeals? Are more charges coming? Then Pamela Warner broke her silence. Stepping to the courthouse podium, the crowd went dead quiet. Her voice was steady, but every word struck like a gavel. This isn't justice for my son. This is a warning. You can hide for years. You can pay people off. You can make the world think you're a hero. But the truth doesn't care about your reputation. And trust me, the truth isn't done yet. Boom. That was the soundbite. CNN ran it. TMZ ran it. Late-night hosts opened with it. Within hours, it was clipped, subtitled, and racking up millions of views across platforms. Cosby's legal team scrambled for damage control. In a press statement, they called the verdict a gross miscarriage of justice and vowed to explore every legal avenue. But the public wasn't buying it. Not after the avalanche of evidence, and not with whispers of more still to come. By nightfall, the Cosby saga dominated every news network. Analysts replayed his stunned reaction in slow motion, dissecting each blink as if it were a clue in a true crime documentary. Meanwhile, in the darker corners of the internet, amateur sleuths began connecting dots. Old guest lists, financial records, grainy photos of late-night meetings. One post in particular went viral. It laid out a timeline of Cosby's travel dates over the past 5 years, overlaid with mysterious incidents involving former colleagues. Nothing proven, but enough to make people wonder. Was Malcolm's case just the tip of a much uglier iceberg? And then came the anonymous email. Multiple newsrooms received it at the same time. No name, no return address, just a subject line. You think it's over? Inside was a single attachment, a blurry still from what looked like security camera footage. Cosby, seated at a table in a dimly lit cafe, leaning toward a man whose face was obscured. In the man's hand, a thick envelope. Sound familiar? It should. Months earlier, a similar image had been rumored, linked to an alleged payoff connected to Malcolm's death. But this time the photo was clearer. And this time it was time-stamped, just weeks before the murder. The next morning, the footage itself began spreading, first on underground forums, then on Twitter, and finally blasted across every major news site. The clip was short, maybe 20 seconds, but damning. Cosby slid the envelope across the table. The man nodded. They shook hands. Cosby's team dismissed it as deepfake nonsense. But on morning television, forensic experts called it authentic beyond reasonable doubt. The court hadn't even touched this evidence yet. But the court of public opinion? It was already halfway through deliberations. Protesters swarmed the courthouse in even larger numbers. Signs now read, "Life isn't enough," and "Who else was involved?" Rumors of a federal probe into Cosby's associates rippled through the press corps. Cosby himself sat stone-faced as always, but sharp observers noticed his eyes flicking toward the prosecution table, as if trying to read their next move. And according to a well-placed leak, their next move is coming tomorrow. By sunrise, chaos outside the courthouse had doubled. The sidewalks looked like a war zone of flashing cameras, protest banners, and reporters shouting over one another for a live feed. The signs had evolved, from "Justice for Malcolm," "Please," to blood-red demands. "Who else?" and "Bring them all down." Inside, the hallways felt suffocating. Today was the day the prosecution had promised to reveal their next move, one that, according to whispers in the press room, could deliver the final nail in Bill Cosby's empire. When the judge's gavel struck and the words, "Court is now in session," echoed across the chamber, every eye locked on the prosecution table. The lead prosecutor didn't rush. He wanted the tension to marinate. Slowly he rose and walked to the center and dropped a single USB drive onto the evidence table. The metallic clink might as well have been a bomb. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steady, "this is Exhibit 72. What you're about to see has never been shown to the public or even to this court until now. It comes from a secured source, and it will connect the defendant, his associates, and a coordinated plan to eliminate Malcolm Jamal Warner." The defense leapt to their feet. "Objection! Chain of custody!" But the judge cut them off. "Sit down. I'll allow it." The lights dimmed. The courtroom monitor flickered to life, and there it was. Surveillance footage from inside a lavish hotel suite. The quality was crystal clear. On screen, the man in the leather jacket sat at a table, stacks of cash in front of him. Beside him, the bald man, already identified as the alleged hitman. Then, from the left side of the frame, Bill Cosby walked into view. He wasn't slouched. He wasn't hiding. He looked comfortable, almost smug. In his hand, a manila folder. The audio, muffled but audible, captured the bald man's voice. "Once it's done, no one talks. No one." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Pamela Warner's eyes narrowed, her grip on her purse tightening until her knuckles turned white. But then came the moment that made everyone in the courtroom lean forward. In the background of the footage, barely in frame, stood another man. His face was partially obscured, but the glint of a gold watch was unmistakable. The same gold watch already tied, in earlier leaks, to a well-known Hollywood producer. The clip ended. The silence was deafening. The prosecutor stepped forward. "This isn't hearsay. This isn't rumor. This is evidence of a meeting between the defendant, the alleged hitman, and another high-profile figure yet to be named. We will be calling a witness who can confirm this meeting took place and what was discussed. Reporters scribbled furiously. Jurors avoided Cosby's gaze, some shifting uneasily in their seats. Outside, the leak was already on Twitter. Of course it was. Multiple angles, slow-motion replays, hashtags exploding. Goldwatch was trending worldwide. TikTok edits paired the footage with ominous music, turning it into a viral true crime reel. Back in the courtroom, the defense scrambled to recover, arguing the video had been doctored. But the damage was already done. Cosby's mask of control slipped, just barely, but enough for cameras to catch it. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted toward the exit for half a second. The prosecution wasn't finished. They called their next witness, a former hotel security guard named Marcus Hale. He walked in with the heavy presence of a man who'd seen too much and was finally ready to talk. "Mr. Hale," the prosecutor began, "were you on duty the night this footage was captured?" "Yes," Hale replied without hesitation. "And did you see these men enter the suite?" "Yes, I escorted them up personally. Mr. Cosby," the bald man, the man in the leather jacket, and later another man I recognize from the film industry. Recognize how? I've worked security for premieres after parties. He's famous in certain Hollywood circles. Produces films, works with big names, always wears that same gold watch. "Objection," Cosby's lawyer snapped. "Speculative." The judge shook his head. "Overruled. The witness has professional experience." The prosecutor leaned closer. "Mr. Hale, did you overhear any part of their conversation?" Hale hesitated, then nodded. "Only when I passed by the door later. I heard someone say, 'It has to look like an accident.'" "No investigation." A sharp gasp swept through the gallery. Pamela Warner closed her eyes, bracing herself as though struck by the words. By the time Hale stepped down, the courtroom felt like it was vibrating with tension. During recess, the outside world lost its mind. News alerts exploded across networks. Gossip blogs published exclusive insider claims. Reddit sleuths pieced together a timeline, matching the producer's known whereabouts to the very night in question. One post went viral, side by side. Photos of the gold watch from the leaked video and paparazzi. Shots of the producer wearing it on multiple red carpets. The caption read, "This isn't just Cosby's crime anymore." When court resumed, the judge immediately had to call for order. Before the prosecution made its next move, they requested an official subpoena for the Hollywood producer. The defense erupted in protest, but the judge granted it. "If this court is to uncover the truth, no one is above scrutiny," she ruled. That single decision shifted the trial from a high-profile murder case to a potential Hollywood-wide conspiracy investigation. Cosby avoided eye contact as he left the courtroom, his eyes locked on the floor, shoulders rigid. Still, cameras caught the faintest smirk on his lips, a smirk that quickly became the meme of the week. Pamela Warner, however, stopped just long enough to face the wall of microphones outside. "They can run," she declared, "but the truth is faster." That soundbite spread like wildfire. By the end of the day, it wasn't just your gold watch trending, it was "They Can Run," Hollywood hit list, and Jeter Cosby conspiracy dominating social media. And tomorrow, the man in the leather jacket was set to testify. No one knew if he would crack under pressure, take the fall, or drag everyone else down with him. But one thing was certain: by this time tomorrow, the world would either know much more or nothing at all, if he mysteriously vanished before court. The moment the judge announced, "The court will now hear testimony from the man identified," in both the cafe and hotel footage, the entire room shifted. Jurors leaned forward. Reporters' pens froze above their notepads. Sketch artists' eyes darted between the prosecution table and the witness door. Then it opened. A tall man entered, black leather jacket, clean-shaven head, the same figure from the footage. His slow, deliberate walk carried the weight of every eye in the courtroom locked on him. The bailiff swore him in, but even before he spoke, the atmosphere thickened. This was no ordinary witness. The prosecutor didn't waste a second. "State your name for the record." "Darius Caney," the man said, his voice deep and steady. "You were present in the cafe on the date in question, along with the defendant and the man alleged to be the triggerman in Malcolm Jamal Warner's death." Darius flicked his eyes toward Cosby, then back at the prosecutor. "Yes." "And 2 days before Warner's death, you were in the hotel lobby?" "Yes." "And can you tell the court why you were